So, good morning. It's Thrive Experience Day 7. Day 7. So, I guess this is officially my first weekend. Woke up, took the vitamins about 25 minutes ago, shaking it up now. Got the patch on. And yeah, I didn't lose any weight today. That's okay. But stayed the same, which is quite amazing because last night I just decided I wanted queso, and that's what I ate. So maybe my goal for the next week is to thrive experience while eating semi healthy. I don't know. That might help me out. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But I'll say this again, lost those couple pounds. I've kept those couple pounds off. And yeah, once again, I woke up about an hour early. Can't sleep. Couldn't do it. Want to sleep. Just couldn't sleep. So, yesterday, because all this thriving has got me thinking about, uh, life goals. Talked about that yesterday. Today I thought I would delve a little bit into the world of politics. Don't worry, I'm not going to go too far, and I'm not going to say anything controversial. We've just gotten done with a very bitter election here in the United States. And most of my family voted one way. I voted the other way. And I could unpack that a little bit. May do that in some videos, but not for Thrive Experience. But there's one of those things that I think really, really applies, and that is healthcare. Why are there Americans out there that want to take people's healthcare away? I don't understand that. So I'm a school teacher, and I teach at a school that is, the majority of the students are economically disadvantaged, and not like where like in some communities they say that you're economically disadvantaged if you make under 30,000 a year. I mean, I have some kids that like eat in the soup lines, and it's the majority of the students I teach statistically. And I know when the coronavirus hit and everyone was in quarantine and shut down, my wife and I, we volunteered to work in some of the food lines through the summer. And the first couple weeks, the lines had maybe 10 or 15 cars that came through. By the time we had to stop to start getting ready for, uh, marching band, because we, band director and stuff, the lines were wrapping around the facilities, and I saw the faces of so many kids that I taught. Um, and they were coming through and they were just trying to get food to eat because their parents didn't have jobs. And it was sad and it touched me. Um, I get a little emotional thinking about it because band kids, they mean a lot to me, and I hate to see it when they go through struggle and strife. I'll be the first one now to push them to help them get to where they need to get. And sometimes being a coach isn't easy because I don't get to tell you what you want to hear. Part of coaching, your mom and your daddy are there to love you, but your coach is there to push you. But I care deeply about them. I grew up in this town. I'm from here. And when you come back and teach at a place that you're from, sometimes inside of every kid you see yourself. And that was really hard for me. And I still haven't been able to shake that thought or forget that. Um, and, sitting here thriving and thinking about the fact that I even have the ability to be able to afford this system um, when so many people are not is a blessing. But it's something I can't take for granted. But I take all this to get to healthcare. To me, I just I don't see why anyone would want to take away someone's healthcare. We live, and I'm blessed. We just celebrated Veterans Day, and the United States is the greatest country in the world. And you hear Republicans say that Democrats don't think that. And you hear Democrats sometimes say that Republicans don't think that. And the truth is from someone who the majority of my friends are Democrats, the majority of my family are Republicans. But I'll say this about both sides of the aisle: both sides, they love America. they believe in a different version of America, and one side claims that one side is Marxist, and the other one claims the other one is socialist. And the truth is that neither one of those extremes back itches. Neither one of those extremes is actually true. Democrats are overwhelmingly not socialist, and Republicans are overwhelmingly not Marxist and populist and all that stuff. Just a small few of both sides. Healthcare. So, yesterday in the Supreme Court in the United States, there was a court case to once again try to strip down people's health care. And the charge is always led by folks that look like me. They're folks that middle class, the upper class, that don't understand what it's like to maybe look a little bit different and to have things, mosquito flying around, that, or to not have things. And they don't understand why does the government need to pay for that, or why should I have to pay for that in my taxes? I'll tell you this. So some things that started changing me. About 4 years ago, my pastor at church started asking us to read the Bible for ourselves, to start turning off all the mumbo jumbo. It's great to have a devotional, and I love devotional. In fact, in my last video, I was asking if anybody had any suggestions. But I think a part of that is that we have to read the Bible for ourselves. And when I turn off everything and I quit relying on a pastor or some man or woman to tell me what to think, and I just read God's words on my own, I saw some things in there that I struggled to reconcile with some of my sacred political beliefs. Jesus said that the evidence of our faith is how we treat widows and orphans. He said that that all money is God's money, that we should take care of those that are in need, and that the love of our brother matters. And then I drive down the street. There's more Bible verses than that, but I drive down the street, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Even if you're not a person of faith, you know that one. I drive down the street and I see people that need things. And I think we live in the greatest, most affluent country in the world. And we spend billions on bombs, fighter jets, and guns, and self-defense, and we should do all those things. I think they're important. Walk softly, carry a big stick. I think that's important. The world is at peace with a strong America. I still believe that. But having said that, I also have to think about the priorities that are in the Bible as the way I read them. And I think to myself, if we have all these things, but we can't have poor people have health care, what does that say about the soul and the morality of our nation? What are we defending? If we can't defend people's lives, then what are we defending? And then I had a conversation with a friend the other day and started talking about lazy people, good for nothing bums and all this other stuff. And are there people out like that? Sure. But number one, even if that were true, even if that means that people who maybe don't contribute to society get some health care, I go back to the Bible. Jesus didn't discriminate. He wanted a quality of life for everyone. Everyone was welcome at his table. And where we all see enemies, Jesus saw someone he died for. And he didn't die for the perfect folks. He died for the unperfect people like me. And so I think to myself, if we have the ability, and we do in America, to help people, I believe the majority are deserving. But even the undeserving, even the person that's murdered someone in a prison, I mean, that's far. But shouldn't they have access to a quality of life to be able to go see a doctor? Basic health care. I'm not talking about a premium plan, but basic health care. Shouldn't that be a human right? And the way I get there, the answer is yeah, I think so. I think that comes with being compassionate, a compassionate people. You know, and I hear people say all the time, well, they could go to the emergency room. Yes, and in the emergency room, the United States has to see them. But think about the bills, and you take poorer people that are already struggling with bills, and you make it worse. There's the economics of that too. Giving a person basic health care is cheaper than having them always use emergency services. Man, mosquitoes are out here. I'm going to have to light my mosquito lamp. It's cheaper. I think it makes more economical sense. I'll go somewhere. This is going to be a little controversial today. Some of you are going to quit watching my videos as a result of this. Abortion. For the record, I'm not pro-abortion. I'm not. But I wonder if more people had access to health care, how fewer abortions there would be. How many young people make better decisions when they have better sex education. I grew up in a Christian family. My parents trained me. My dad explained that stuff to me. My mom, I should say this, my mom, I used to ask her so many questions. That's a whole other video I should do. I grew up with privilege, white male, middle income family. See, being a school teacher has changed me because I recognize that not every kid grew up that way. Not every kid had someone at home. And that education, it helps them, and it decreases abortions because people make better decisions. People say that these kids should just know because there's someone there to teach them, and they don't. And I grew up thinking it's not the school's place to teach sex education until I became a teacher. And I realized that unfortunately in so many households there's no one teaching it. And if we don't teach them, how will they know? Healthcare. I challenge you today to see the world a little bit differently, just to look at it a little bit with a little bit more compassion. Maybe you say, well, this plan is too expensive anyway, so we don't need. Well, maybe it is too expensive for you. Maybe it's not your choice. But what about all the people that rely on the Affordable Health Act? What about that? So see the world just a little bit differently. Have just a little bit of compassion. It doesn't have to make you a Democrat. You can still be a Republican. And just go, I'm a Republican with some compassion. I want people to have health care. Or maybe you go, I just can't get behind this plan, but I'll support another plan. I'll be honest with you, things about the plan I don't like. There's things I'd love to see changed. And I'm hoping someone will put forth a better plan, and I can go, hey, let's change it to that. But so far, I haven't seen the other plan. People say it's not the responsibility of the government to give people health care. I think it is. At least to offer an option. Isn't the responsibility of the government to keep us safe and protect us? Isn't this a form of protection? So I think it is. And even if it wasn't the responsibility, I'm going to go one step further. Being a person of faith, I go to church. If we Christians were doing our job, would the government, would this even be an issue? People say it's not the responsibility of the government. That's great. But here's what I can tell you. A lot of churches do a great job of feeding the poor and helping the homeless. But a lot don't. And someone has to pick up that slack. We're busy oftentimes pointing fingers at the government saying you shouldn't do it. Meanwhile, if we were honest, we attend a church that's not given to our community. Or maybe your church takes up a missionary offering, or they give to the poor every Christmas and Thanksgiving while leaving out the other 10 months of the year. And a lot of churches take up money and send it overseas for missions. Meanwhile, they never did anything to reach the people in their own neighborhood. I know my wife and I, it's one of the reasons we choose to go to the church that we go to. And we've left a lot of churches because if you're taking up money to send overseas, but you do nothing for your own town, is that church? Or is that just taking up an offering to feel good about yourself? I see this video has gone 15 minutes. We discussed something very deep today with healthcare, and I just hope that a lot of you will take a second, pull back, and think. For me, when I think about healthcare, I think about those kids that I teach. I think about every single one of them. You know, people say, well, maybe their parents. No, you don't understand. The kids I teach have great parents. They're just working 2 jobs to pay the bills. I was explaining to my kids the other day. I know I just said I was going to stop this video going on, and I was explaining to them the other day, and they said, I said, Nathan, Cadence, we live in a great house, don't we? Yes. We live in a great town, don't we? Yes. I said, but guys, we have a responsibility to give to other people, because in an instant, God could take all this away from us. If I got diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, I could lose it all, because the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. So I think we all have that responsibility to just see things a little bit differently and understand that that person who's has a different life circumstance from us, they may be a good person just like us, but maybe somebody got diagnosed with cancer. Maybe somebody lost their job in a recession. They didn't have any family. It's hard for me to see that because I have family in places, but there are people out there that they're the last living relative. They have no one else to fall back on. You know, I teach some kids at school that, you know, here, I'll go ahead and say it, their parents are not legal citizens. And we're so judgy of that, and that hurts me, because I will tell you this, these kids too that are sometimes villainized, let me just tell you, they're straight A students. They don't come from wealth, but they're straight A students. They're not hindrances on society. They're not crooks. They didn't even, I guess they're technically here illegally, but they didn't have anything to do with it. Their parents brought them here when they were 3. And then you talk to some of their parents that show up at meetings, like band booster meetings, and you have those conversations. When they finally feel comfortable enough to tell you, one of those parents says, you know, Dr. Boyd, it would be my greatest honor to be an American citizen. It would be an honor. Taxes, I want to pay taxes, but I'm having trouble getting through the Mexican authorities to be able to get the paperwork to be an American citizen. Breaks my heart. Or learn a language. I'm going to tell you this, I struggle to learn another language, but yet to be an American citizen, you have to learn to speak English. There's all these barriers that we have to them becoming citizens. Tests that they have to pass, and I understand that to be a citizen you should know things about our country. Please don't get me wrong. But for fun one day, go get you a copy of that test and go take a look at it, because I did a little Google search to see what that test was. Let me tell you something. There are kids in high school that take social studies that could not pass that test. And then I think about these parents, these kids, they're good people. They're God-fearing people, overwhelmingly. Most of the ones, at least I teach, are Catholic. They want that. And we get so judgy. Anytime I hear someone talk about the crazy illegals, as if they're some bad people. And I think to myself, is this where we're at as an American society, where we villainize people? And then we say because they're illegal, they shouldn't get health care because, you know, they don't pay the same taxes that we pay. Then we go attend our churches on Sundays, we open up our Bibles, and we sing songs about God's grace and God's blessings. And we deny basic health care over someone's immigration status. That's the ultimate form of privilege, isn't it? And aren't we privileged to be able to deny someone else health care? But they'll have to tax our businesses, and they'll tax. So you're saying you're not willing to give up some money to help someone else. Jesus looked at the rich man, and he said, if you want to follow me, give away all your possessions. You want to talk real talk? The real talk is, the things that keep me up at night is when I meet Jesus one day, I haven't given up all my possessions for the poor. There's real talk. I may answer for that. The question is not should we give up, but have we given up enough? Guess what the Bible actually says? The Bible says it's all His. There you have it. Okay, Thrive Experience. Who knows? I may pick up some deep, dark topic tomorrow that we don't know what it'll be. So I will see you then. I challenge you to see the world a little bit differently. Don't see everyone as your enemy. See people as your friend. When you see someone in need, help them. And that is the ultimate lifestyle. We'll see you later.